Okay, where are you from?
I'm from San Francisco originally.
Okay.
But I left there a long time ago. I've lived here about 16 years now.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, so I've been here for quite a while. Yeah, I've got a little bit of info on the band as well. I got some stuff off the internet, so I know a little bit about you guys. So I'll try to use what I have here and
Okay.
try to make do.
Was that stuff from our homepage?
I guess so. Yeah, there was something. Is there a magazine called Wood and Wire?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like some sort of easing for indie bands. And I think the bulk of it was from that.
Okay.
And there were also a couple of reviews.
Okay.
Where did I get these reviews?
To tell the truth, I've never seen the homepage. Well, I've seen it once when Keith, the bass player, he's more, I'm not fluent on computers at all. I can't do anything on them, but Keith, who plays bass, he has set that up and developed it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. Well, it just has, it has a little bit of background on each of you guys and a touring schedule and a discography.
Okay.
And like I said, I got a couple of reviews from something else I can remember. There were reviews of, I think, the latest release. But at any rate, let me see, what do we got here question-wise? The first question is, did you guys like the raincoats? Were you fans of the raincoats?
That's the first question. Keith is, I think. Shivaka, I'm sure, has never heard the raincoats before in her life. And what I've heard hasn't done much for me. No. Are they popular in Japan?
I think they were maybe popular among the type of people who read this magazine. This was originally a smaller publication. It's gone on to become the best-selling music magazine in Japan, but back when the Raincoats were in their heyday, the magazine had been covering bands like that, kind of cutting-edge bands, and I think maybe this question is sort of a leftover from that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really haven't heard too much of their stuff, to tell the truth. But
I'm going to assume that other people have made the comparison before. Or...
Well, that's the first time I ever heard that.
Really? Why? You said that you knew. I mean, you were aware of the other members, what they thought of the Raincoats, though. Obviously, the subject has come up before.
Oh yeah. I mean, friends of ours listen to the Raincoats and will put them on, and so, you know what I mean. We discuss music a lot. It's just me.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so the Raincoats have come up.
Oh, okay.
And you know, I'm not really. There's no way I would have been aware of them when they came out. So I just. I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
Okay. Well, we got that one out of the way. That's the only comparison question as far as I can see. Although I noticed in these reviews I was reading, there's just comparisons all over the place. It's amazing. I mean, these guys like compare you with everybody from Let's Active to Suddenly Tammy to Christ Almighty. It's like littered with there's some band called Sloan they compare you to. Maybe
really?
I guess maybe with up and coming bands that's the case. So people are always tempted to label you or somehow identify you by way of your similarities to bands.
And what magazines are these from?
I figure what was that from here? I've got the file open here. Let's see. I've got my computer open in front of me here. I'm just opening the file to see where I got these. It was it's one of those zines on the net. It says something silence. Huh. The war against silence. It says.
Huh.
I guess that's the name of it. Worms and Angels? Worms and Angels. There are a lot of these publications on the net right now, and this just happened to be one that turned up reviews of what you guys had done. At any rate, comparisons abound. And let's see, question 2 here is about the Minty Fresh label, which I guess is responsible for artists such as Liz Phair, Veruca Salt. You guys were what? Did this guy Jim Powers sign you personally, or did you get tied up with that label in some other way?
No, they heard a friend of ours. Well, actually, a friend. Shivak and I grew up together in high school. Went to high school together, and another fella that we went to high school with. He put out our first single when the band pretty much started as a hobby. You know, just it was more just a recording hobby. I think we'd recorded a bunch of songs, like 3 albums worth before we'd even played a gig, like for the first year we were together. And then he released our first single, and we did some touring around that. And they heard that while on the radio at Northwestern University in Chicago, and bought the 45. And there was a note in there. We had some cassettes that we had recorded that you could buy, so they bought one of our cassettes, and then it just kind of took off, and we wound up playing there, and Jim wound up was a fan and signed us. Yeah.
I see. Okay, so that what the single you're talking about is like there's a list of these things here. It's like something called "Retards, Cowboys, Careers for Culture Lovers." Which one are you talking about?
The single is called "Friday Night," I think.
Okay.
Okay.
It has a Friday Night, Sunday Driver record.
That's the first thing that was ever available to the public. And that was an edition of 500. And the cassette we sold at shows and sold through the mail, but so the Minty Fresh records are just the first records that have really gotten any distribution or anything at all, to tell you the truth.
Does Jim Powers just take a personal liking in you, or does he have any plans for you? What exactly has he told you about what he intends for your band?
Well, we're signed for a 3-record deal, so. I mean, you got to understand where we're coming from. Just Shivaka had never even played drums before the band started, and it was just when we got the contract for the recording to sign with Minty Fresh. I mean, it blew my mind. I never realized all that goes on. I mean, this has just been a huge learning experience for all of us. As far as musically, I mean, we were obviously it was just kind of a hobby, and now we've really worked on our singing, and I've really tried to take steps to be a more functional recording engineer and musical thinker. But just beyond that, just business skills like time management. And you probably shouldn't print this. People won't think we're rockers anymore. But you know what I mean. Just learning about organizing time and having to deal with business licenses and stuff. It's all been pretty mind blowing. So as far as Jim Powers' plans for us, I think it's just to release our next record. I mean, he's an A&R man for Geffen, so I've always heard. I don't know. I don't really know if there's any more of a connection beyond it than that. But right now our plan is just for us to go on tour, come back, record the next album. What do you mean as far as a plan?
Well, I think that some people sort of speculate, thinking that maybe this Jim Powers is trying to groom you for success, or make you into the next blank of the '90s, or whatever, however you want to put it. I mean,
that'd be cool.
maybe he has grandiose designs. I don't know. I mean, I was just wondering if this guy was just wondering if there were any plans that we should know about.
No one's told me, but it's pretty interesting.
All these things happen at boardroom meetings that you're not privy to, I guess.
Yeah, man. So, do you actually write the articles, or are you just interpreting?
Basically, for the telephone interview, I just take the questions and work with these, and these get the whole thing gets translated by a different person later. The only time I would do translating is when I actually accompany somebody to a face-to-face interview. But for telephone stuff, I just kind of ad-lib it on the basis of the questions here.
And then who actually? Okay, so do you write? Like, are you a musician, or do you follow music?
I follow music, and I actually do write my own stuff. But for this magazine, I'm just a translator.
Okay, so have you heard the band before?
No, I haven't. That's why I went to the internet and downloaded a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So kind of reading about what.
But are you aware of new? Like, what kind of stuff are you into? What bands do you like?
What kind of stuff do I like now?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of listen to stuff I haven't really listened to a lot of the indie bands they're talking about, although among the comparisons made, I was a big fan of Let's Active. Somebody mentioned, lo-fi stuff, and I guess, among lo-fi stuff, I like Sebado a lot. Some of the stuff they mentioned I'm into, other stuff I've never heard of. But, my tastes are pretty extensive.
Cool.
Although, unfortunately, I've never heard you guys' music before.
No big deal.
Yeah, so we will just work with the questions here that our journalist has provided us with.
Okay.
Actually, he's the one who writes the article. He gets the translation back to him, edits it, puts in his own comments, and it thus becomes an article.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you know about the board meetings? I mean, I just been learning about that stuff. It dawns on me that it really is. They sit there and they have a meeting and they say, okay, we have this much money for this quarter. How much can we allot for this band? How much can we? Minty Fresh was when we started. It was run out of a back room in his house.
Yeah.
Since then, he has gotten an office, but it's really, at least in my eyes, still functions on a very not primitive level, but. I can get on the phone and talk to the president of my record company.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it sounds to me like that's sort of his breeding ground. Where he's able to sort of develop a talent that he finds, and it sounds like stage one. And if he works the band up to stage two, maybe that's when they start talking with Geffen about serious business. But you got to bear in mind, Tony, that these people are in this for the money. And, they definitely want to find cool bands. They want to release stuff by cool bands. But at the same time, they have to discover bands that are going to finance them down the road. Otherwise, none of this business happens. I mean, it all needs money to help it run. And, for every big, fat dinosaur band that, sells 1 million and 2 million records, there are at least 24 bands, smaller bands that need that sort of financial help and need to be groomed for success and need their touring financed and need their videos financed and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, right now on the food scale, I mean, you guys are far down there, but obviously, they see some potential there, and you're working your way up, I would imagine. But in regards to the board meetings, I don't know. I haven't really attended any, so I just go on what I hear.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see. The other questions here.
Do you play?
I used to play. I don't have time anymore. I have a couple of guitars, but you get busy and you just don't have time anymore. I've got a Strat sitting around here in my room right now, actually looking at me. But unfortunately, it's not part of my life right now. I just get too busy.
Yeah. I mean, as far as all the business, we just hired a manager just a little while ago, and that was a huge step for us. I mean, I've booked us across the United States a couple times, LA and back, and we've recorded all the records ourselves at the house where I live, and it's just always been just almost a necessity, do-it-yourself operation, and and like you were saying, it just became there was no time. I was sitting here doing interviews and setting up European tours and dealing with past, you just realize how much stuff there is to be taken care of before you can actually be a musician. And it just got to the point where the reason we started is because we like to record music and play music.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Man, it's really, like you said, you just get, you have to do some other stuff, and then just, so you're like, what the fuck? I haven't ever, written a song in a month, you know what I mean? Anyway, touring.
It's tough. It's very difficult, and you have to, schedule your time carefully, or else it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
One very interesting guy I talked to once was Bob Mould, from Sugar.
Yeah.
From Husker Du. I mean, there's a guy who, he plans his life so carefully. He says he does all the business during the day, takes a nap, and at nighttime he's a musician, he says. But he says if he didn't separate the two of them, he wouldn't be able to do it.
So does he go back to sleep after he's a musician, or?
After he's done all his work. He gets on the phone all day, does the planning, calls around, makes all the arrangements, which apparently, it's pretty complicated.
Yeah, he's self-managed, isn't he?
I think so, yeah. So,
wow.
So, takes a nap, and then at night, puts on his musician's cap and writes songs or rehearses or whatever. But, I mean, it's really tough because, I mean, there's a lot to be done. You can't just sit around and write songs and expect it to all happen for you.
In touring, we've been touring since August, on and off, and it's just, you just can't do anything when you're touring. It just puts your life on hold.
Oh,
You're just saving all your energy for playing, and it's just weird. At first, I was like, yeah, maybe we'll write some songs at the hotel. Or, actually, we haven't even started. We're still sleeping on people's floors, but just you can't do anything productive except read a book. It's weird.
Well, I saw your European schedule. This is like insanity. I mean, you guys play a different place almost every night.
Yeah.
From March 11th until March 30th. I mean, you guys are going to be on the move constantly.
It was supposed to be longer than that, but the singer for the Flaming Lips got sick. We were supposed to be over there from. Let me see. We flew over, I think, the 28th, maybe. was going to be from like the 29th of February on until the 29th of March. But I mean, we're actually looking forward to it. We're actually going to be, they're paying enough money. We're going to get enough money we can stay in hotels. And the drives, I mean, we've had done some crazy drives, like Minneapolis to Seattle in a day, you know, just
right.
And we're like, this is going to be a piece of cake. We're going to have someone else riding with us too. So
you actually got people paying for your restaurant bills and stuff. It's amazing. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, that's the good side. You get to see a lot of Europe and stuff. But I mean, it's a pretty insane schedule from what I can tell here. I mean, they're like it's a different place every day. So let me get back to this guy's questions here, or else I'm going to get in trouble for not asking what I'm told to ask you. The band is unusual in that you've got like I guess both you and Shivaka sing.
Yeah.
And I think both of you sort of take the vocals alternately.
Yeah.
Which is kind of unusual. Is that something that did it always work out that way, or it just sort of evolved in that direction? Or
it really, I mean, as the band started out, I was the only one. And this is again where we're coming from. I was the only one who could even sing and play their instrument at the same time. So I was the lead singer. You see what I'm saying? And then as we developed, and then she started singing more, and it did develop, and it's really pop music is about the glorification of the human voice, I think. I mean, all music is rhythm, melody, harmony, and tone. Or how about, okay, let's get, all music is sound organized in time, and I found the best ways to think about it are rhythm, melody, harmony, and tone. And then for pop music, I think it's using those elements to glorify the human voice. To make, I don't know what, I mean, it can be the human voice like sounding like hell, it can be just the sweetest, highest melody, but something about it, I think it's just the creating the setting for the human voice to just trigger these feelings in people. And so when we really started getting into that, we worked a lot on the vocals. I enjoy writing a song with someone else's voice in mind. Sometimes that helps you kind of free up what notes you would sing, how you would sing them, what type of song you're doing, and just because we're three, Keith sings a lot too. There is one song that he sings lead on. Hey, can you hang on 1 second? All right, thanks. Oh? Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
We're three very strong-minded people, and we really want to present it, the three of us, as an entity, not just a bunch of songs, but three strong individuals, and get the voices going. You listen to the Beatles, man. It's just... There's four, Ringo always had a song. I think it helps. I also think, as opposed to an album, none of us are that strong singers, and none of us could carry an entire album on our shoulders,
Right.
That's another, I don't know. I just always like that.
Yeah. So you're making the whole into more than the sum of the parts.
Yeah, exactly.
With the tools you have. And your lyrics, this guy, the author of the questions here, says that they seem to be kind of scenes from everyday life. It's not the typical lyrics where you have a person speaking in the first person singular. You have people actually. There includes even conversation between people. Just sort of slices from everyday life. Is that? I guess that's pretty much your style.
Yeah. Well, it varies. There's a song called TV Movies, and that song is about 10 seconds. It's about when you're walking down the street and there's someone walking in the opposite direction, and all of a sudden your eyes meet. And you're like, this person's perfect for me. I'm in love with them. We're gonna buy a house in the country. You come up with this whole like TV movie. Some total hokey movie in your head. And and then you guys cross, and then it's over. You never see him again. It took about 10 seconds, but it affected you. So there are a lot of songs like that. I mean, some of the songs, the lyrics are. I guess there are a lot of songs just like that.
That's right.
I mean. A lot of times the lyric, I guess that is what genre I gravitate to, but a lot of times the lyrics are informed by what the feeling of the song is, just the rhythm, how the rhythm, and there's a song called Wildlife that just felt like it just had this energy like you're strutting downtown, kind of. You're heading downtown for some action. That sounds kind of silly, but then that's what the song is about. It's just about the energy of, getting on the subway system and going downtown. But
where are you guys located? Where do you live?
We live in a town called Somerville. It's outside of Cambridge in Boston, Massachusetts. It's where we went to. It's where we went to school, and by the time we finished college, the band was full time. There's still some debate as to where we're going to live a year from now, but as it stands right now, I'm still in the same house. And if you look on the record, actually, the cover of us is us at a piano. That's the living room where I'm at right now. But we got to record the next album here before my lease runs out. So you could say Boston, Massachusetts.
Where were you guys going to school?
Tufts University.
Tufts,
Yeah.
And do you think that Boston itself has a lot to do with the type of lyrics you write? Are you inspired by that city at all?
That's an interesting question. I think so. In that it really is. You see so many. There's just there's just a lot of different cultures here. There's an area called Central Square that has this World's Fair where I grew up in an area called Wilmington, Delaware. Do you know what? Delaware. You're from the city. Delaware it was just a very small city. It was owned by the DuPont company, pretty much. And then coming to Boston, it was pretty eye-opening to just all these different cultural experiences. So I think I do tend to take the stance of an observer a lot. I like to sit on the subway and watch people interact, and so as it does.
And you guys were, I guess, selected in the Spin magazine critics poll as one of the 20 best of last year. Your album, that is. Your album was selected as one of the 20 best albums. Does that mean much to you, or do you think that's sort of a poll for snobs, or is it something that you would rather not associate yourself with?
Gosh, that's I think it's very nice. I think it's very flattering. I always read those types of things. I'm also very much of a list maker, so I'm always writing lists of different things. But I think it's really nice. I mean, it doesn't really affect. It doesn't really affect what it is we do, or like it's not going to change the way we do the next album. You know what I mean? It's a nice compliment. I mean, I think it's
a little frosting on the cake?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes I think the whole critic situation is just really strange. I mean, we're talking about when this tour for Europe, I actually got to go over there earlier and do some press, and I had never been there before. It was just a huge eye-opening experience, and I remember when we got reviews for our first single, it had 3 songs on it, 2 slow and 1 fast. One review said the slow songs rule, the fast song is lame. The next review said the fast song rules, the slow songs bore me to death. And it just was like, fuck it, there's just no point in thinking about that. And now it just I actually got to go to Spain and to deal with the music and Germany, and it's like, man, things that I would get shunned for in this kind of like indie rock community that we exist in the States would make us, superstars in other countries. I mean, I'm exaggerating here, but do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
It's a big world, and everyone's different, and it's just, if one critic loves it, another critic's going to hate it, and I liked making it. It was a very big learning experience, and that's... You play guitar. You know how just like when you're playing a song and then all of a sudden you add a different note in the bass and you're like, my God, the new world opened up to me,
Right.
That's what it was. That's what making the album was about.
Actually, yeah. I guess it's finding out a lot, about who you are. So it's learning to accept yourself, accept your own identity.
Yeah.
And that's one part of the learning experience.
Definitely.
Learning that what other people think or what other people consider credible is not really important. It's just sort of expressing what comes naturally to you.
Yeah, and especially in this, and we would get kind of lumped into the indie rock, scene, which is it made me realize it's a world that I never even functioned in. I mean, if there was a way to make records yourself and tour on your own. And I just want to be thought in terms of popular music, not indie rock music or, it's. Musicians are always bitching about this. You always read interviews with jazz musicians saying, "I hate being called a jazz musician. I just play music." You know what I mean?
Right.
But anyway,
this guy uses a very strange word to describe you guys. He calls it soft rock. Does that make any sense? Soft rock.
Soft rock. I would agree with him that.
Really?
Well, there's a couple songs that are distorted, but generally, we just want it to be a very pleasing sound.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? All the sounds just to sound really nice.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Can you hang out one more time?
Yes.
Thanks. Hello?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Just a really pleasing. We just spent a lot of time working on the sound, trying to develop a sonic identity.
Mm-hmm.
Just in the way, I think right now in the 90s, at least with a lot of rock, I think a lot of rap music's pretty exciting, but a lot of rock music, it all sounds, it may be distorted guitars or pop guitars, but just the way it fills your speakers is kind of the same way, whereas a Fleetwood Mac record used to fill your speakers differently than a Beatles record, or do you know what I mean? They had sonic identities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Raspberries, people mixed for car stereos as opposed to home. It was just more of it was a lot bigger picture than just the lead vocal or just and so we spent some trying to get a sound together, and I think we all agreed I just don't like music that hurts my ears. I don't like loud drums, and
right.
So soft rock is fine in that. I think the sound is kind of soft.
Mm-hmm. And you actually had these guys. What are the names here? Paul Coldery, okay, and John Slade.
Sean Slade, yeah.
Sean Slade, I'm sorry. Who are, I guess, sort of fixtures in the Boston scene there. They were the producers.
Well, we produced the record. They mixed the record.
Uh-huh.
Which means we recorded the songs, decided, I want the bass to hit on 2 and 4 and the kick to hit on, the offbeats or whatever, and just the conceptualizing. And then we brought our recording. We have a pretty limited setup. It's a basement 8-track. And we brought the 8-track over to their studio, which is actually really close to where we live, and mixed it with them. So it was the best of both worlds, being able to spend. I mean, there's a big difference between playing live and playing in the studio. Live, you're engaging people's eyes. Live, people can look at you, so automatically what they're hearing counts a little less because they're paying attention to their eyes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless they shut their eyes. So, but when you're in the studio, they've already looked at your CD cover a couple times, and all you have left is their ears. So you have to spend more time working with the sound and the arranging and the orchestration to make the listening process more interactive and to make it more three-dimensional. And so once we kind of started developing that concept, it was pretty obvious that we had to continue. We started on 4-track, and that was doing more vocals. It was just really difficult. So we tried going into a studio, and it was a really negative experience. The engineer just wanted us to, he's like, just play what you do live, and it'll be blah, blah, blah. So being able to spend as much time as we wanted arranging it at home and then going in and mixing it at a studio with some very nice equipment was, I think, the best of both worlds.
And did he recognize the names of those, your engineers from Juliana Hatfield? Are they involved at all in what we would call a Boston sound? Is that
I'd say so, but I'd say the Boston sounds. Can you hang on one more time? Okay. Hello? Sorry about that. Well, it's the Boston sound is Boston. as far as musically, there's a million different bands here. You know, as any city, and just there's the Berkeley bands, there's jazz bands, funk bands, but as far as the more guitar-oriented bands, I mean, they recorded like the Pixies and Dinosaur Jr. and Cum and I don't know, Juliana Hatfield. So I'd say they're responsible for a lot of that, and that has since become a very popular sound nationally.
That's obviously that's not. You weren't interested in that kind of sound, though.
No, not really.
But how did you end up with them if you know what they're doing is not exactly?
Well, I still respect what they do. I think they're very good at what they do. I don't think it. I think one producer could make a lot of different types of records. You know, and the fact of the matter is, they were the closest to our house. They were friends with the guy who runs our record label. But I got together with them, and we got along really well. I think that's just one record. I think they really enjoyed working on our record because it was something that they enjoyed that wasn't what they're kind of expected to do now.
I see,
So I think it was a really positive experience all around.
But logistically, they just happened to work out.
Yeah, it worked out great, man.
Yeah, I see. Okay, and let's see. Just scanning the questions here for something we haven't covered yet. Seems like the American music scene is more. This guy notes here. Seems to be more. How could I put this?
Close-minded.
More like compared to say the UK, more jaded, more almost in certain ways ill or sick, like compared to the UK. Do you think the American scene has anything to do with the way you make music, or are you pretty much divorced from all that happens? Are you just making music on your own, or do you feel like you're interacting with what's happening in America at all?
Gosh, no, I don't. I really, I really don't. I mean, a lot of the music I listen to is made by Americans. You know, the Beach Boys or Fleetwood Mac or anything. But no, I mean, it really doesn't have anything to do with it for me.
Oh, really?
I don't think so. I mean, we could go on and on about what's going on in America right now, man. MTV's killed it. if you just want to, MTV's a cancer, and don't publish that because we'll never get our video on it. You know, it has turned music into fast food, and I think, and how big is MTV in other? See, that's one thing I'm not aware of is how popular MTV is in other countries. But here, it just, it's gross. It's really fucked up. It's like, it is fast food. It's just these new product. No one even understands that a musician functions like an author or a painter, where that they have different periods. They're expected to just give you an identical product right now, and you're supposed to eat it or then throw away. You know what I mean? It just, and so maybe that's why I was so jaded, because there just seems like it's so out of reach with MTV, and once you get there, you're screwed anyway. I don't know. It's really depressing. I don't know. I mean,
but obviously that has very little to do with what you're doing.
No, I don't think.
You're kind of the alternative.
Hopefully, I mean, we're just trying to make positive, enjoyable. Also, what's popular right now, as far as just the music, is just really pathetic. It is just recycling of just old sounds and these attitudes that are just there's no possibilities to the music anymore. When Green Day are saying, I have no future, I just want to sit around and smoke pot and rip off the Buzzcocks for the rest of my life, and rap musicians, although I respect rap musicians for their production aspects, but just we're about killing people and mistreating women. I mean, I'm making these big generalizations here, but not a lot of the music, and a lot of music that I see becoming successful offers up possibilities, helps people say, I can get through this, or we're just about a positive energy. Just, I'm losing track of the point here.
No, that makes sense. I mean, it basically says you're talking about your motivation for making music and the perspective you're coming from. That makes perfect sense to me.
And music has just become so, like, because music has become such fast food by MTV, to almost, like, justify people, like, are taking it more seriously than ever. Not more serious, but just, like, the videos are all very serious and claim to be high art, and the musicians are just so self-righteous and concerned. I mean, look, man, I just want to dance, you know, and just feel good. If I get a melody stuck in my head and it helps the traffic go faster, then that's the best quality of music. If it just enhances life, not if it beats, you know?
Right.
So...
Okay, that makes sense. This song, Guy Don't Lie?
Guys Don't Lie, yeah. That's exactly what it's about. It's about the guys who lie, like the Pearl Jams, and these guys that are just... You know, the lyric is like, boys and girls should be as one. God don't mind, it sure is fun. Try it on, maybe just for size we're right if guys don't lie. The first lyric is, maybe we'll try something new. It's time to dance. Wait, well, I'm losing the lyrics. I'm calling time out from the guys who lie. They can't dance, and it's time to try. It just, you know, it just seems like it's gotten nowhere, you know? Music, what the whole alternative grunge bullshit, just, it was a dead end, I think.
Well, why do you think it was a dead end?
Because it just, where can it go from there? It didn't say, oh, it wasn't a new sound. It wasn't a new... Not that things had to be new, but it just didn't. I just don't think it made people enjoy being with people and enjoy... It may have helped them release negative emotions, but I don't see, like, aggression as something that you release. It's something you work through, kind of. As opposed to saying, I'm stuck in traffic, I'm going to punch the windshield out. Say, I'm stuck in traffic, and I'm going to get through it. You know what I mean? Anyway, so what was the question about Guys Don't Lie?
It was a question about the song. I think the guy read something into it that maybe you didn't intend. I mean, he was talking about there seemed to be some sort of celebration of men and women, or like almost sort of an erotic message. But obviously, that has nothing to do with it, right?
No, it's just about people being together and enjoying themselves together. It's just about, like, when I grew up, my dad would play the piano, and we just all sing songs around the piano. I mean, that sounds kind of hokey, but, you know, he'd put on a Rolling Stones record, and we just dance a little bit, and weren't self-conscious about it, and didn't feel sexual tension about it.
Right.
Music
that's what music originally was. People just sort of naturally enjoying themselves, and there was no pretense or anything about it.
Yeah, and that's what that song's about. It's not like so I guess he did kind of misread it, but
yeah. How about the songs "My Revolution" and "Smash the World"? I mean, they almost sound like on the surface to be sort of songs that talk about change in kind of an archaic way. But do you mean something more personal, or do you think these song titles are deceptive? Or are you referring to something?
Yeah, I think. Well, I didn't write "My Revolution." Keith, the bass player, wrote it. But I know from talking to him that it is more of a personal of sorts. Him kind of coming to grips with where he stands about a lot of things. And Smash This World is to tell the truth, Smash This World is just about dealing with the Smash This World, just the frustration within a relationship.
So it is that was also a very personal.
Yeah.
I think it was for personal politics as opposed to public politics.
But I mean, aren't public politics about personal politics?
Maybe certain aspects, but I mean, public politics are supposed to be about, like, public policy and philosophies behind policy. So there was a question here about, like, how you define the best kind of pop music. You've been talking about pop music in terms of the more negative aspects, like people speaking of very dark messages or running into a brick wall like grunge. What is the best kind of pop music? What you guys are trying to do, something very seductive, very natural, very conducive to people's happiness, that kind of thing?
Yeah, pop music that, well, just music that enhances life, I think, is the best kind of popular music. Best pop music. I mean, pop music, I mean, what are we defining as pop music? Is it just music that's popular? Music that has I guess, if we're saying pop music, I'm going to say, is music that glorifies the human voice.
Mm-hmm.
And if it if it enhances your life in a positive way,
mm-hmm.
I guess it's the best kind. Mm-hmm. And I don't think grunge doesn't enhance my life.
Okay.
Grunge hurts my ears.
Okay.
You know.
Right. That's perfectly valid. Getting down towards the end here, there's like he has 4 acts listed here, 4 acts from the Billboard Top 5, and he would like to hear a short critique of each. The first being Alanis Morissette.
Alanis Morissette. The Canadians must think we're pretty gullible.
Okay. Number 2 being Smash.
But I mean, I think Alanis Morissette is totally valid. I mean,
mm-hmm.
I like to think that it was like this whole studio manipulation situation where they're like, okay, let's manufacture. I think, they manufactured something that they knew was going to be a hit. I think that's just as valid as someone sitting in their basement. It's the same thing. It's all rhythm, melody, harmony, and tone.
Mm-hmm.
And just.
But you're suggesting that it's more contrived than, say, that you guys are?
No, I think we're just as contrived as Alanis Morissette. I mean, it's just all people just playing notes, making sounds.
Right.
All the other details. It's like people have a worldview, and then they fit the musicians into their worldview.
Right.
But instead, if they try to detach it from that and just listen to the music, I mean, what I've heard, I don't really care for.
Mm-hmm.
But people get so caught up in it and don't listen to it, Anyway, so.
Okay. Is that good enough for Alanis? Should we move on to?
Yeah, that's good enough for Alanis. Do I sound like I'm whining here?
You sound like you're what?
I'm whining.
No, not at all. You have to. These are these can be kind of demanding questions that I think you're holding up rather well.
Okay.
Number 2, Smashing Pumpkins.
Smashing Pumpkins. Again, they don't really. Neither Smashing Pumpkins or Alanis Morissette really do much for me musically.
Mm-hmm.
I never feel like singing their songs, and they never. I don't think I've ever really learned anything musically from listening to them,
mm-hmm.
or felt anything. I guess Billy Corgan seems really dedicated to what he does.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's nice, and I think that song, despite all the rage, "I'm Still Around My Cage," is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the guy seems to be have a lot of problems admitting it, but he's always doing these interviews where he's saying, "Oh, I just have a lot of trouble admitting what it is I really like to do musically, and it took me a while to come to grips with it." And I can understand that struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're kind of let in, though. They're
kind of what?
Let in, like when their music comes out of the radio. I like Oasis just because they brought a lot of personality back. I think they seem good, and maybe that's all contrived too. But they seem the press that I read, they seem a lot less self-conscious
mm-hmm.
than all the other bands that I read interviews with. The guy's like, "Look, I'm trying to write the best songs I possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's it."
Mm-hmm.
And I think. When Paul McCartney and Brian Wilson were like the kings of the pack, that's all they were trying to do was be the best musicians they possibly could.
Right.
Write the best songs they possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
And if they weren't, then the public, maybe I'm misperceiving the times, but that is what the public seemed to expect of them, is to be the best musicians they could.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Velvet Underground came along and said, "Oh, don't worry about that. You just have to be art." No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. But, and so I like the fact that the guitarist just seems to be dedicated to working at music. And I don't get me. We were talking about people get so caught up in the politics of the music they're listening to. I mean, I enjoy that aspect of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And in concerns to that, I really enjoy Oasis's personality in the press. I grew up being really into like rock and roll guys.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that just weren't afraid. The Stones and Chrissie Hynde for really just. They weren't afraid to make a statement and stand by it.
Right.
And if you didn't like it, then fuck. Everyone is so content on either not giving you anything to react to, just protecting themselves at all times and being ultimately self-conscious,
mm-hmm.
or being so ultimately crowd-pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
So I like Oasis.
Okay, and last Number 4 is Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey. Well, she's married to Tommy Mottola, so that excludes that. Talk about politics.
Married to the president. Uh-huh.
What's that?
Married to the president.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could sing like that high.
Mm-hmm.
But I really hate her music. I gotta be honest with you. I just saw something she does with Boyz II Men on TV, and I just couldn't even make out a single melody.
Yeah.
They were just like all these little melismas, just like it didn't seem very musical. It just seemed like a bunch of. It just seemed like vocal guitar solos, you know, and not very interesting guitar solos.
And the last question here is, what do you think you'll be doing in the year 2000?
I think I'll be sitting in the basement or sitting at the piano.
Sitting at the piano.
I'll probably, actually, when it turns 2000, I'll probably get up and dance for a little while. And then I'll probably get back down at the piano.
But you think you'll always be with the music, huh?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what we had. I mean, it's just what I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really a question of it earning me a living. I mean, obviously that has entered into it now that we realize that might actually be a possibility. That was pretty mind-blowing, but it's just, if I worked a day job, I would come home and play guitar.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, there's just a lot of aspects about playing music that are very nice.
Mm-hmm.
That it provides you with, it becomes part of your social circles. You can help expand them. It has taken me to places that I've never ever seen before. It's just, you know, I'd never been to the West Coast before. I'd never been to Europe before, and never talked to someone in Japan before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just so far, music's been a very rewarding thing for me, and I hope to keep doing it. God, I can't believe I'm saying shit like this. I sound so melodramatic.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. All right, well, so I think I got what I need, Tony, and I thank you very much for your time, and wish you guys the best of luck on what you'll be doing.
All right, and well, thanks a lot.
Okay, so we'll talk again hopefully in the not-too-distant future.
Okay.
Okay, then.
All right, see you later.